in the fires of hope and prayer, with boundless faith in our destiny, we solemnly declare, side by side we stand, highlands of the blue Caribbean Sea, this our native land. We pledge our lives to thee. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation.
Almighty God, most beneficial and merciful, Creator of the universe and embodiment of divine wisdom and light, we come before you with thanksgiving and praise. May your will be done in our nation as it is in the heavens. Please bless our political leader, party officials, activists, and all the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Give us the grace to always see good, be good, and do good, and the courage to serve the people. Protect us as we stand against injustice and iniquity, and inspire our endeavors to find the right solutions to the problems that are affecting our fellow citizens. Grant that we may always work together with humility and respect for the greater happiness of all and the honor and glory of our country. Amen. From across the nation, we are the United National Congress. And this is our virtual report.
The new qualification process for social services at the Ministry of Social Development is hurting the vulnerable and putting them in worse off positions. Imagine disabled people who are wheelchair bound are being denied.
From our national headquarters and virtual space, the Member of Parliament for Shogunas East, Vandana Mohit.
Honorable Political Leader Mrs. Kamala Persad Bissessar, my distinguished colleagues, and you, our viewers, a pleasant good evening. My friends, this country is at a point where we cannot bear the burden of continuously carrying the wrongdoing by this wicked and heartless Rowley-led regime. Citizens are fed up with the cut and fit to see how the days go. Whilst some can still afford to go to the groceries, there's a growing number of those whose grocery basket has become a hamper from here and there every month. About 1 year ago, I said citizens are now becoming income poor and facing asset risk due to the harsh measures by the most wicked government and Prime Minister, the PNM, and Dr. Keith Rowley. Today, I am sure many of you looking on have some friend or family who have lost their jobs, lost their homes, their businesses, or have been evicted. And the question remains, how much more can citizens ban their belly? And I want to share with you an IDB study last year titled COVID-19 Caribbean Crisis, where they conducted a research in 6 Caribbean countries. It was found that in Trinidad and Tobago, in the pandemic, 44.5% of households reported eating less healthy meals than usual. And it was also reported that 16.8% went to bed hungry. My friends, can you imagine, whilst the Inter-American Development Bank is reporting 1 in 6 respondents facing hunger, the government still finds it acceptable to squander over $500 million taxpayers' dollars behind a project in NGC that is dubious at best? Can you imagine what $500 million could have done? That would have been enough to pay salary relief grants and income support grants for more than 25,000 families for an entire year. They are telling you, ban your belly, whilst this PNM regime is literally raping our treasury in the interest of good friends. Whilst this PNM regime, when asked the right questions, cannot account to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, they are asking you to ban your belly. I am telling you, though I'm a newcomer in the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago, I have been looking on at now Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, and I can tell you, our Prime Minister, our current Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, is a shameless man. He uses aggression to cover his ignorance to what is happening under his leadership. I want to take a look at self-help grants and show you what this government is doing. Do you remember, citizens, when the Prime Minister, Dr. Rowley, said he's the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago? Tonight, I want to use this opportunity to tell Prime Minister Rowley to remind Minister Shamfa Cudjoe that he is the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, because she's making you look like a person who speaks untruths. She's making you look like a liar. And I want to share with you, citizens, our viewers, on the 6th of August 2021, Minister Shamfa Cudjoe came to Signature Hall in Montrose, and this is the image. Within the Signature Hall, I want you to note, is located within the constituency of Chaguanas-East. She came there to distribute home repair grants in the reported sum of $750,000 to 30 families. As you can see, Minister Cudjoe, no member of Parliament for Chaguanas-East in this picture. My friends, as I move on, the roaming Shamfa never had the courtesy to inform the office of the Chaguanas-East constituency. So in other words, nobody except Romy will know who got grants at that Signature Hall location versus who didn't. Friends, and I will not forget, following that distribution, numerous persons have since shown up at my constituency office with receipts proving that they have applied to self-help and also indicating their disappointment in the said minister. I also want to share with you, going down the line in the chain of events, On August 11th, a few days later, Minister Shamfa Kojo was captured. Look at her, captured, distributing grants in the reported sum of 1 million TT dollars to 55 families in Tobago. Not forgetting, she is the MP for Tobago West with a THA elections in the air. And I move on. And these were video footage I'm going to refer to now. On September 3rd, 2021, there was a reported 100 damaged roofs in central Trinidad. On the 6th, I'm speaking about the 3rd, where there was a reported 100 roofs damaged in central Trinidad. Following that, on September 6, 2021, the Member of Parliament for Arima, a PNM MP, was captured distributing self-help grants to 22 families in the reported sum of $330,000 to those affected by weather conditions. Following that, I move on again. On September 10, 2021, the mayor of San Fernando, a PNM appointed mayor, was captured distributing self-help grants to 45 families in the reported sum of 1 million TT dollars. I move on again following that. On September 22nd, 2021, the Member of Parliament for Arouca Maloney, a PNM MP, was captured distributing self-help grants to 17 families in the reported sum of $255,000. So my friends, Minister Shamfa Kojo is gallivanting with PNM MPs using the Self-Help Commission. And I make it very clear, we have no problem with grants being given to those in need, those who are affected. But what has happened to those families in central Trinidad who were affected by weather patterns as well and other areas in Trinidad and Tobago? If you are to add all of what was distributed, almost $3.3 million in self-help grants given, PNM MPs posing and Central Trinidad, Central MPs are left in wonderland. Still, those citizens still using tarpaulins to cover their rooftops. We are asking, when will these families be attended to? Some of these families can't buy food. Imagine fixing a roof. Yet still, $500 million wastage, when these citizens could have been taken care of as well as those who have applied and been waiting. We ask, is Minister Shamfa Kojo a minister for Trinidad and Tobago, or is she a minister for the PNM only? It is a shame to hear the PNM when they sing and dance to the song, "We love you, so we take good care of you." It is a shame. We can say, based on their governance, we can see that citizens are the least concern for them. Families are struggling to eat, whilst $500 million are unaccounted for. Look at NGC, I'm reminding you, Trinidad Petroleum as well. Do you know if these monies were to be utilized when it comes to persons requesting grants and requiring the assistance for home repairs? If you are to calculate, 50,000 persons could have benefited from these self-help grants across the country. When you consider an average value of $10,000 per grant, and if these grants were equitably shared by constituency, more than 1,200 persons, and I can refer to my constituency, more than 1,200 persons in my constituency alone could have benefited. But unfortunately, these citizens are forced to watch $500 million squandered whilst NGC asked the government to indemnify them. My friends, let us go to the salary relief grants. Since May of this year, affected citizens were told to apply for salary relief grants. The Minister of Finance came in August 2021 to tell citizens that 24,000 applications were received for the salary relief grants for 2021, and almost 15,000 applications were screened. He went on to inform in August that 4,070 applicants have received salary relief grants. What a shame! From May to August, it took you so long to pay 4,070 applicants their salary relief grants. On September 15th, we are moving on. Look at the timelines. On September 15, 2021, the Minister of Finance was asked in the House of Representatives, when will the outstanding screened applicants receive salary relief grants? In response, the Minister of Finance said, from August 16th to September 15, 2021, the figure of paid salary relief grants went from 4,070 to 6,560. And they were tapping the desk for that, praising themselves. But we are here to ask, as we hold them accountable, why so slow? Why did the Minister of Finance fool the population, telling them that this year's system is much more sophisticated? Based on the minister's response and inefficiencies, we can see that the minister had no real change to the application system for the salary relief grant, except to tell us what type of device is being used to apply. So how are we to believe that the issue of double dipping will not occur again if the minister is outlining the same and so many issues when it comes to screening applicants and paying salary relief grants for 2021? We are asking, did Minister Imbert ask how these people have been managing since May 2021? Well, we have the answer. It's no, because they just don't care. Because all they are concerned about is wastage of taxpayers' dollars. Food prices are exorbitantly high. Some families can't even afford basic food items for the full month. Where is this government? Where is this P&M government? Where are the 22 MPs? As I said before, it's wastage. Wastage in the sum of over $500 million taxpayers' dollars wasted could have been used to pay these grants. Apart from food, my friends, parents are still struggling to purchase booklets for the new school year, which started days ago. Over the last 2 weeks, I myself have dealt with 40+ parents who just can't afford their children's booklets. Tenants are also being evicted. I am telling you, I myself have had to secure trucking services through the use of Good Samaritans to help persons being evicted so they don't have to sleep on the streets with their belongings while this country is under a state of emergency. And we must ask again, is this government purposely leaving our citizens to suffer? Because if you look at it, it's not only the salary relief grants. Let us look at the income support grants. And I repeat, do you all remember the income support grants? This country has been under lockdown measures since May 2021. Where are the income support grants? And I'm asking again, where are the income support grants? To date, we have not seen or heard of any reports of distribution of income support grants to those citizens who would have qualified. We have not even heard about the screening process for those citizens who have applied for the income support grants. And today we have to ask, Donna Cox, where are you? Why don't you be brave? Why don't you be brave, Donna Cox? If you claim to care for those who are really suffering, come out and tell the citizens what is the status of income support grants for 2021. You have left many persons as Minister of Social Development and Family Services still awaiting their grants from 2020. And to date, we still can't hear your voice for 2021. Come clear, we are telling you, come clear and let the country know of your struggles with Minister Imbert in releasing money to your ministry to pay our citizens their income support grants. We are also calling on the government to indicate whether the income support grants announced for 2021 is actually a hoax. Rather, tell us if it is a hoax. Tell us if you are tricking the citizens. Citizens are awaiting answers as it relates to the income support grants. Citizens have been waiting in vain. Yet still, we can see all over the media, everywhere in Trinidad and Tobago, wastage. The government cannot account to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. They are running from answering the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. One bunch of cowards in the PNM government. My friends, as I conclude, they want to come to you with property tax. They want to use your assets as revenue to continue to squander and mismanage. They have proven to us, they have proven to you that they can't govern one bit. As I stand here, I'm asking you, I'm pleading with you, stand up. Stand up as our citizens. Stand with us. Use all of your platforms available and reject all the wicked and brainless moves by this government, by this PNM government. Do not allow them to believe that you are silent and you have no view, you have no say. Voice your concerns. Use your platforms. Stand up and stand with us. I am pleading with you as a young member of parliament. This government must go. They must go. They are biased and they continue to discriminate against citizens, which is unacceptable and intolerable. You have heard me tonight. You have seen where I've shown you how they are gallivanting with the self-help grants. You have seen where I've shown you how long they are taking to assist our citizens who are still at home in need, who are still awaiting, who some have had to depend on a perishable hamper. Not that we are not thankful, but thank God we have that to give them to survive. You have seen where I've shown you where many are awaiting the income support grants, and we are requesting answers for our citizens. My friends, we are at a stage where we need to rebuild and restore Trinidad and Tobago. I am telling you, it is the only way to save our nation. Our leader and our MPs, we have been fighting the good fight. And I must say to you, our UNC, your UNC, the UNC stand ready to restore and rebuild Trinidad and Tobago. I say to you, Stand with us. Stand strong. Long live our political leader, Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar. Long live the United National Congress. I thank you.
A team focused on rebuilding the economy and restoring our democracy. This is the United National Congress.
And even when it was extremely unpopular to do so, we have spoken out against the ills and indifference and wrongdoing within our country. And that decision to speak out on a number of occasions when it was extremely unpopular to do so.
In the image of the United National Congress, Attorney at Law, Sean Sobers.
Good evening to the Honorable Political Leader, Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar, Senior Counsel. Good evening to members of both Houses of Parliament. Good evening to our UNC family, who's always religiously locked on to our different presentations. And good evening to you, the members of the listening and viewing public. Thank you for joining us here this evening for our Monday night forum, where we continue to present information on burning issues that we think important for the public to grasp exactly what is taking place within our country. Now, the last time that I was on a political platform, it was to discuss issues related to national security, border integrity, and border management. And I summarized a series of affairs that was plaguing our country at that point in time earlier this year. And unfortunately, I also predicted a continued decline of our national security as it relates to border management and border integrity. And my friends, since then, we have definitely seen as a nation an unfortunate decline in the way in which our national security arms have managed our border security and border integrity. As a matter of fact, we've also seen an unfortunate increase and rise in crime and criminality in our country. That crime has been on a steady rise with more murders and more violent crime. And even though it has been touted by some, especially within the corridors of the government, that with the introduction of the hostile vessels, there should have been some stem of the tide of more firearms, illegal firearms entering the country from our southernmost borders. Our statistics definitely does not demonstrate that. We've seen an increase in illegal firearms entering this country. We've seen an increase in illegal guns and drugs and arms and ammunition entering this country. And unfortunately, at the height of a pandemic, we've also seen an increase in variants of the virus, the coronavirus, entering our country. As recently as last week, we would have heard from one of the Ministry of Health's press conferences that the Delta variant is here. That the Delta variant is here, albeit that we have so much strict measures at our legal ports of entry. That for persons re-entering Trinidad and Tobago, you have to take a PCR test that costs X amount of dollars. And you have to fill out a form and upload that form on some TT Pass, whatever document and program. And subsequent to that, you also have to prove vaccination in terms of your vaccination card. And then you are allowed to re-enter Trinidad and Tobago. And if you don't have a proper vaccination card, or if you weren't in fact vaccinated, you'd have to be housed at one of our state quarantine facilities. So with all of these stringent measures in place at our legal ports of entry, we still have the Delta variant finding its way here. An alleged community spread taking place with respect to this Delta variant. And it begs the question, how? How, with all of these stringent measures in place at our legal ports of entry, do we have that Delta variant entering Trinidad and Tobago? And the answer to that question, my friends, is quite clear. It's quite simple. It has entered through our illegal ports of entry. The same illegal ports of entry that our political leader, that the United National Congress has spoken about, has beseeched this government to tighten the reins, to tighten the porosity of the borders, our southernmost borders, to ensure that we have a proper control at those ports of entry, those illegal ports of entry, to stem the flow of all those illegal activities that I would have spoken about. And all of this happening under the gaze of who, in my opinion, is the very worst Minister of National Security we've ever had in this country, Mr. Fitzgerald Hinds. Now, I say that about MP Hinds because the facts bear themselves out. This is the same Fitzgerald Hinds who, in 2019, as a minister in the Ministry of National Security, spoke about border security and border management. And as a matter of fact, in June of 2019, he held a press conference where he indicated that he was creating some I-style unit to deal with illegal immigrants. And 2 years, fast forward 2 years on, where he is now the substantive Minister of National Security, there's no I-style unit. We still have a problem related to illegal immigrants coming through our southernmost borders. And him being appointed sometime in April as the substantive Minister of National Security, where border security and border management is at the uppermost part of most persons' mind as it pertains to illegal immigrants and guns and drugs coming into this country. And an example and a demonstration of a possibility, a very real possibility, of those very same illegal immigrants also bringing in variants of the virus, which we are trying to fight. He now has a meeting in September of this year, some 5 or 6 or 7 months after becoming the Minister of National Security, to deal with border security. A meeting that he held September 2nd at the Ministry of National Security to deal with border security, speaking to experts. And all of this happening in the Ministry of National Security, we also have a debacle taking place with another independent organization that has relations with the Ministry of National Security. That organization, my friends, as many of you would know, because it has been plastered on the media, print and otherwise, is the Police Service Commission. Now, the Police Service Commission in this country is charged with a specific responsibility. Under Section 122, I believe, of the Constitution, it has been charged, it has been created to treat with the process of selecting our Commissioner of Police, to disciplining members of the police service. It treats with an organization that is responsible for peace and order within Trinidad and Tobago, safety and security management within Trinidad and Tobago, and putting the titular head of that organization in place. And that particular independent body, the Police Service Commission, has fallen out of favor. There are many inconsistencies taking place with their activities over the last couple of weeks. And I want the public to understand why we are where we are. As the old people would say, I'm going to give it to you, chapter and verse, what's going on with this Police Service Commission. So, sometime last year, we are told allegedly that there were certain bits and pieces of information that found its way in the National Security Council, the NSC. And that information, allegedly, as is being used now, excited the National Security Commission and the chairman of the National Security Council, rather, to employ 2 individuals to conduct a fact-finding exercise. And this exercise was to investigate allegations of fraud, corruption, and mismanagement as it pertained to the firearms section of the police service. Now, we only found out about this alleged fact-finding mission sometime during the course of this year, as recently as last month. And it begged the question as a responsible opposition to ask the National Security Council, who are these 2 individuals that you would have given this engagement to, this fact-finding mission to? What were their terms of reference? How did you arrive at these 2 persons? What authority did you, as the National Security Chair or the National Security Council on the whole, give these 2 people to conduct this fact-finding mission? What capabilities did these 2 persons have? What resources were at their disposal? How much were they paid to conduct this fact-finding mission? And if all of these questions rather remain unanswered, it brings about more questions. How credible would the information procured through this fact-finding mission actually be? If these persons have no authority, because as far as I'm aware as a practicing lawyer, the only persons who could investigate the police service in this country are not even policemen. It is members of an elite unit within the police service called the Professional Standards Bureau. And outside of them is the Police Complaints Authority. So I don't know if there exists any written law where the National Security Council could hire two random blokes to investigate police officers and police mismanagement. So that whatever information they may have procured, we don't know how credible it could be. How would they have been able to summon persons to answer questions? How would they be able to procure or put their hands on sensitive documentation to prove their case? And if they have in fact conducted such an exercise, who helped them? Who amongst the police service would have assisted these individuals? Who gave those police officers instructions to assist these two individuals on their fact-finding exercise? These are questions of which we do not have answers to. Some many moons after this fact-finding exercise was commissioned. Fast forward to sometime middle of August of this year, where we were well aware that Commissioner Griffith, who would have been appointed sometime in 2018, he had a 3-year contract to be Commissioner of Police. Many would agree with me that he was a good Commissioner of Police. He did a lot of work. The statistics would bear him out on that. And we waited with bated breath in the opposition and in the public, knowing that that contract was soon to come to an end. What was the position of the Police Service Commission in appointing a new Commissioner of Police? Many members of the media would have posed that question to the Police Service Commission, and there was no forthcoming response by them. Dead silence. A pin could have dropped as it pertains to them giving answers to the public. And then sometime in August of this year, we are told, and we've seen the document, a letter would have been issued to the commissioner indicating that he would be allowed to act as Commissioner of Police. Fine, no problem. That was the position. But today now, we are hearing that the manner in which the law would have been amended to allow such letter to be issued to allow Gary Griffith to act was poorly drafted. Well, I didn't find that surprising at all. Because the person who we know who has been charged with the responsibility to advise the cabinet, to advise the government, to advise the country on matters of law, to bring law to the parliament, is the Attorney General. And in proper fashion, having sat in the parliament across from the fellow, I know that the man doesn't bring good law. We, as the opposition, on several occasions, have been accused of being obstructionists when it comes to the legislation being brought to the parliament. But contrary to that, it is the same opposition, the very first time in the history of this country, in the history of the parliament, that we as a responsible opposition will take the bad legislation crafted by the Attorney General, fix it properly, because we know in our minds the end users of this legislation is the most important persons to us, which is the citizens of this country. So it didn't surprise me one bit when we see legal opinions coming out from senior counsel indicating that the amendment brought for the acting commissioner to be allowed to act was bad because it was drafted by the Honorable Attorney General. And as we move along, chapter and verse, trying to understand this debacle that the Police Service Commission is in, we find ourselves sometime in early September of this year, where we are informed that the Police Service Commission also received some type of information that excited them to hire retired Justice Stanley John to do certain things, to conduct an investigation. And the Police Service Commission would have written to Commissioner of Police Gary Griffith to tell him about this investigation and to indicate to him that he should assist retired Justice Stanley John. And assist he did. Because as far as we've seen from correspondences that have been in the public domain, It appears that Gary Griffith would have assisted John by making persons available to him for questioning and procuring certain documentation for him to vet and whatnot. And then thereafter, we hear about a suspension. Now, while all of these investigations are ongoing, we become seized of certain interesting facts. It is alleged by letters that have found themselves in the public domain that sometime in mid-August, whilst the Police Service Commission was secretly preparing their merit list, completing their selection process for the police commissioner, they would have forwarded that merit list to President's house for the President to put a rubber stamp on it and send it to Parliament. But at some point in time, when the chair of the Police Service Commission entered President's house, there was some secret public official, some shadow public official who made himself available to present information to the Police Service Commission chair at President's house that moved her, the Police Service Commission chair, so much that she had to initiate that investigation by retired Stanley John. Now listen, when I looked at the newspaper article and I saw the emails that were released by one of the Service Commission members themselves, I said, but this thing sounded like a movie. This is a James Bond movie. You have some secret agent finding himself in President's house, no less, or herself in President's house, no less, to provide secret information for their eyes only, not your eyes and not my eyes, no other person's eyes, their eyes only, concerning the police service and allegedly Gary Griffith. I want to know, and I know many members of the public want to know, who that person was. Why it is those concerns, whatever those concerns may have been, could not have been reduced into writing and forwarded formally to the Police Service Commission for all the commissioners' attention. Something is afoot here, and this is demonstrative of the type of governance that generally takes place within this country. That you have a shadow organization with shadow members showing up at President's house, no less, to provide information on one of the most important figures in this country, and they're running of one of the most important organizations in this country. When information like that reaches the public with the way in which certain people in this country intend to do business, it allows for a mass loss of confidence in these pillars, in these foundation organizations that we all depend on within our country. And someone needs to answer. Someone needs to indicate to this population, indicate to the citizens of this country, what is really going on. Why approach this situation in that way? And from what we have been made aware of within the party, within the UNC, within the opposition, is that it appears to have some type of rift within the cabinet. That there are persons within the cabinet voting for somebody or wanting somebody to be police commissioner, and there are others who are supporting someone else. And while these two shadow entities fight, the only people or persons that are suffering are the people of Trinidad and Tobago. The only mess that is being created is that our constitution is being ripped apart. Our democracy is being ripped apart. And let me tell you all something here tonight. The United National Congress have no horse in this race. The United National Congress are backing Gary. The United National Congress are batting for somebody in particular. Our horse in the race is the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Our horse in the race is the citizens of this country. Our horse in the race is fairness, is justice, is a judicious approach to selection of the Commissioner of Police. That is our horse in the race. And we want the people who have been charged with the responsibility to ensure that we have a fair and transparent selection process for our Commissioner of Police, that they do their job and they do it efficiently. and that they take no direction from any secret agent who coming out from President's house, Balize house, wherever house. Whatever concerns you may have, public official or otherwise, there's a way in which you do things. Formally. Reduce your concerns into writing and send it to the Police Service Commission. What do we want? The UNC. Because they say we're obstructionists. They say we're noisemakers. We have no solutions. Well, I'll tell you what we want. Because we're speaking on behalf of the public. We want a commissioner of police. Everybody wants a commissioner of police. We want a commissioner of police too. We want a fair and transparent police service commission. It is hard to ask. We want fair-minded people forming the police service commission. We want right-thinking people forming the police service commission. We want a fair and transparent system being utilized to appoint the commissioner of police. That's what we want. And we don't want any outside interference. We don't want no shadow man. No 007 showing up at President's house with no information in no envelope with your eyes only. We don't want that. If we want that, we'll watch the movies. And how do we get what we want? How do we get there? What is the solution? Because the opposition is always solutions-based. Well, first to begin, we get there by Minister Hines, the National Security Minister, who has responsibility for this entire situation and hasn't come out and say anything. We want you to resign. You ought to go. One time. One time you have to go. We want a revelation as well as to who went to President's house. Whoever that person is. Whoever that public official is. Public official or otherwise. Whoever you are, we want you to reveal yourself. Right? And when you reveal yourself, you ought to resign. If you're a public official and you went there, after you reveal yourself, you ought to resign. And hear what? If you don't reveal yourself, no problem. We've received instructions from the opposition leader, Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar of Senior Counsel, to draft a proper Freedom of Information Act that we will be sending to President's house to find out who you are. And after we get that, you could go. We also want, and I stand with our opposition leader, when she made the clarion call earlier this week, for all the members of the Police Service Commission to resign. We have lost total confidence in you. You cannot discharge your duties fairly. We want you all to go. And after you go, we also want a new set of commissioners to be appointed. Fair-minded and competent commissioners to be appointed, so that the process could also be fair and transparent with respect to the selection of a police commissioner. And we want the most competent person, subsequent to a fair, rigorous, stringent, and transparent selection process for police commissioner to be chosen. Man or woman, whoever it is, we want that person to be appointed as soon as possible. That is what we want as a party. What we've seen within the last couple of weeks, in my humble opinion, in my considered view, is not something new at all. It is clear to me, and it reminds me, that this is how a particular administration within this country does business. Within the dark, shadow government organization. But what the old people used to say, what they still say, what in the dark must come to light. And today, because of your dark approaches, because of your shadowy approaches, we have the situation that we have currently with one of the most, or what should have been, one of the most independent organizations, institutions, constitutionally created within this country. Only the PNM could cause an organization like that to fall into disrepute by their actions. And so, my friends, as I close this evening, I call upon each and every single one of you to support our political leader, Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar, to support her MPs and senators as they go out there and they fight in Parliament for you, the people of this country, to support the United National Congress on its stride to bring back fair, transparent, and accountable governance to Trinidad and Tobago. I thank you.
A team focused on rebuilding the economy and restoring our democracy. This is the United National Congress.
In any civilized and modernized society, you have what is called an independent oversight machinery looking and examining and scrutinizing the awards of contracts.
Pre-recorded at our virtual space, Senator Wade Moore.
Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessor, political leader of our great and glorious party and this country's next Prime Minister. Preceding speakers, our viewing audiences, both here at home and abroad. My brothers and sisters all, good evening. This evening, we would like to address the subject, Superior Hotels Limited / the Mill Serve saga. The Mill Serve saga. Same players, same playbook, however, new edition. The 1% ship is coming. Last Tuesday, our nation was informed through a battery of government officials, inclusive of ministers and the PNM chairman of ETEC, that the minority PNM government will be extending, after Cabinet's approval, an offer to Superior Hotels Limited to undertake the development of a $500 million all-inclusive world-class resort and or hotel and property development at the historic Rocky Point in Tobago. My brothers and sisters, Trinidad and Tobago learned that Superior Hotels Limited has had vast experience in large-scale hotel and property management and development, both locally and regionally. Of course, no evidence was proffered to substantiate these purported and exaggerated claims by ETEC officials at the same press conference to announce this development. It should, however, be noted that Superior Hotels Limited is owned by 3 groups of shareholders, each owning 5 million shares in the company. One group comprises of John Aboud, Michael Aboud, and Edgar Aboud. The second group is John Rahel and Anthony Rahel. And the third group is owned by Ruthven Ranford Smith. We are told that Marriott International supported the proposed project, which is situated on some 28 acres of prime state lands located on the western side of Grafton Road and immediately south of Pleasant Prospect. Superior Hotels is to receive a 99-year lease for the lands as well as a 7-year tax exemption period. The resort or hotel will comprise of 200 rooms, 28 duplex residences, 11 single-family luxury villas, 12 fully outfitted townhouses, and some 16 private beachside bungalows. My brothers and sisters, this incursion into Tobago is not new. It is almost the same players involved, with only a 21st century edition. Almost the same players were earlier involved in the construction of the Milsherv Administrative Complex located at the corner of the Claude Noel Highway and Shervan Road, Tobago, and which allegedly cost the developers between $126 million to $143 million. We still do not have all the relevant documents to verify the true costs of the Milsherv Administrative Complex, which is currently being occupied by several divisions of the THA as well as the licensing office. The question that must be raised and answered by these players and the hierarchy of the PNM is, what is the connection and or relationship between these players, that is, the Aboods, the Rahels, and the Smiths, and this country's current Prime Minister? Are these players key financiers of the ruling PNM regime? Let us attempt to trace these relationships or connections among the players involved in this Milsherv project, which is currently being leased to the THA for some 20 years by the developers at a monthly rental of $1.2 million and totaling at the end of 20 years, $311 million at the end, as I said, of the 20-year lease. My brothers and sisters, the administrative complex is expected to be fully transferred after 20 years to the THA at a cost of $1. However, the land has been leased to the Milsherv Properties Limited for 199 years. How will this matter be eventually worked out between the company and the THA is anybody's guess. We wish to ask whether there is a close relationship, friendship, and connection between these players and the current Prime Minister. If this be the case, did the Prime Minister preside over the recent cabinet meeting which gave final approval for Superior Limited for the Superior Hotels Limited project? Is not the Prime Minister conflicted in this matter, owing to his close connection with the Rahels, the Aboods, and the Smiths, investors and shareholders of the same Superior Hotels Limited? Let us examine a few projects to ignite your curiosity, our curiosity, into the connected relationships amongst the players and this politician. Let us look at the Renaissance Towers in Shorelands, Point Cubana, and which was built by Woodgill Development Company Limited. During the period, the 15th of October 2002 to the 9th of November 2003, The then Minister of Planning and Development was one Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, MP for Diego Martin West. Did Dr. Rowley, in his capacity as Planning and Development Minister, grant outline approval to a company which included the son of the then Minister of Health, John Rahel, to construct the Renaissance Tower at Shorelands? This development project was consistently rejected or refused approval for several years by previous ministers of planning, as well as the Town and Country Planning Division. Why did you, as Minister of Planning and Development, grant outlined approval on November the 7th, 2003 to Woodgill Development Company? And could you explain to the population, Mr. Prime Minister, why you did that? You did it on your last day on the job, prior to assuming your new portfolio as Minister of Housing on Monday, November the 10th, 2013. Mr. Prime Minister, what was your relationship with the Rahel, Woodruff, and Gillen families? And in the event you may suffer from any bouts of amnesia, I have in my possession a letter from the Town and Country Planning Division dated November the 7th, 2003, which I would want to read just briefly. This letter is addressed to one Mr. Jeffrey Gillen of Woodgill Development Company. And among other things, it says, please be advised that the Honorable Minister, through the Town and Country Planning Division, has given consideration to your amended proposal and is prepared to permit development on the proposed site at Shoreland Bay. Look at here, Bayshore. This is a letter that the Director of Town and Country Planning signed on behalf of the Minister in question. So we want Dr. Rowley to answer this question. I am showing the relationship and the connection between the players of Superior Hotels Limited and those players who were involved in a number of projects, and the Prime Minister, who was then Minister of Planning and Development, needs to clear the air on his relationship with those players. Another project we need to bring to your attention is the Greenvale Housing Development Project. Were you, Mr. Prime Minister, the Minister of Housing between the period November 10th, 2003 to November the 7th, 2007? And did the NHA Board of Directors, under your directive and supervision, purchase some 167 acres of land from Tunpuna Development Limited, of which John Rahel had an ownership interest in, and which was bought for some $12 million? Did not John Rahel, under your watch as Minister of Housing, not only sold these lands to the NHA, but also had an interest in the construction of some 239 units at Greenvale at the initial estimated cost of $97.5 million through his direct ownership or directorships with Trinity Housing Limited, Broadway Properties Limited, and the Rahel Holdings Limited? We know that the ownership interest in Trinity, Broadway, and Rahel Holdings was Anthony and Annette Rahel during the course of construction of the Greenvale development. Was any approval granted for any change of use from agricultural to residential and housing? Were you aware that these lands were located in a virtual flood zone? My brothers and sisters, let's turn to the third project, known as the Milsherv Administrative Complex, which I alluded to earlier. This project began with the sale of 3 acres of land to the THA for some $12 million by a company known as Dankett, D-A-N-K-E-T-T Limited, whose directors were the families of the Rahels and the Aboods. The original directors of the Dankett Limited, who purchased the 3 acres of land from the Sawyer Fats in 1999, which was located at the corner of Claude Noel Highway and Sherburne Road in 1999, were Joseph Fernandez and Cecil Emmanuel Gomes. However, on the 8th of May 2006, this was purchased by these people in 1999. 7 years later, on the 8th of May 2006, some 7 years later, there was a notice of change of directors, with the new directors being Anthony Rahel, Joseph Rahel, John Aboud, and Michael Aboud. My brothers and sisters, within 1 week of the purchase of these 3 acres of land by the THA for $12 million in 2011, the Orville London-led THA administration promptly proceeded to lease back that said land to the very people that it just bought it from. And their name, or the name of their company at that time, was Milsherv Properties Limited. But this is the same company, owned by the same Rahels and the same Aboods. You know for how many years, brothers and sisters? 199 years at a peppercorn rent of $10 per annum. You just buy land from these people for $12 million. Within 1 week, you give them back the said land for 199 years at $10 per year. Is this real? An arrangement was therefore struck between the parties, that is the THA and Milsherv Property, without any tender, any competition, to allow them to construct what is called the Milsherv Administrative Complex at an estimated cost of, I understand, $143 million under a bolt arrangement that is to build, own, lease, and transfer. You know, this matter was taken to court by the PP government, and they won the case both in the High Court and the Court of Appeal. Brothers and sisters, you know who represented the THA in this matter? John Jeremy, Kerwin Garcia, and Stuart Richard Young. They represented the THA in this matter. They represented the Orville London administration in this legal matter. These were the same players, brothers and sisters, that I mentioned earlier, who purchased the Carlton Savannah Hotel from the FCB, which was put into receivership. And they bought it for some $105 million. It is now known as the Bricks. This refurbished hotel was opened in grand style, or handed over in grand style, brothers and sisters. And it was supposed to be opened in January of 2019. It is yet to be open after some 3 years. So what local and regional expertise and experience in property management and hotel development that the ETEC PNM chairman Imtiaz Ahmad is talking about? Now, out of the blues appears Superior Hotels Limited, which was only incorporated in 2015. Where will they secure financing from? You know, this hotel was opened in October. I think the 30th of October, 2015. Where did they get this $500 million from to finance this hotel that they want to build at Rocky Point in Tobago? From FCB? From Republic Bank Limited? From NCB Merchant Bank? Or will they be allowed rather by the Rowley minority regime to use our prime, pristine lands at Rocky Point, comprising of some 28 acres, as collateral with the banks to secure their finances for the project? We sincerely hope not. A number of issues arise here and require urgent answers from the government, the Prime Minister, the Minister of Trade and Industry, the Minister of Tourism, the PNM ETEC Chairman, among others. For example, is the Prime Minister conflicted in this development project, given his close relationship and connection with the Rahels, the Aboods, the Smiths, who are major financiers, we understand, of the PNM? How will Superior Hotel Limited finance this $500 million investment project? Why make an announcement at this time when construction is not expected to begin until 2023? How and in what concrete ways will the people of Trinidad and Tobago in particular, I should say, benefit from this project? Would it be minimum wages jobs during the construction phase? Or would you do like your friend who owns a building on Picton Street called the Alora, employ Venezuelans on the project? Brothers and sisters, will the people prime and pristine 28 acres of land be used by these Rahels, Aboods and Smiths investors as collateral to finance their loan with the bank? What is the track record of Superior Hotels Limited, which was only legally incorporated in October of 2015? Has Superior Hotels Limited carried out thus far any environmental impact assessment? What about the hotel carrying out a certificate, or have they been issued rather with a certificate of environmental clearance? My brothers and sisters, what, if any, will be the role of the THA in this project? Already there appears to be little involvement or consultation with the THA on this entire matter. Is this not an election ploy by a desperate minority government to win votes in the upcoming THA election? Already, brothers and sisters, the PNM government has increased the number of electoral districts from 12 to 15. And we have witnessed the usurpation of the authority of the EBC, forcing it to illegally redraw and gerrymander the boundaries in order to give the ruling PNM party an unfair advantage. My brothers and sisters, did not the PNM in January of 2021 turn aside to construct a 200-room hotel development project in Roxborough earlier in January? For what? $350 million? Called the Argyle's Falls Resort. Where's that hotel? We understand the SUD area, or the area that they turn the SUD, has now been overtaken by Bush. So it is a mama guy. The United National Congress, in the interest of the people of this country, demand the following from this minority PNM government. 1, full transparency and accountability. Full public disclosure of the entire text of the agreement pertaining to the Rocky Point Hotel. Provision of all agreements surrounding this $500 million project. The full evaluation or the full valuation at current market rate of the 28 acres of prime lands earmarked to be leased to Superior Hotels for 99 years. A copy of the agreement between the government of Trinidad and Tobago, Marriott International, and Superior Hotels Limited. My brothers and sisters, there must be complete, full, and total transparency and full accountability. It is now clear, as I come to my conclusion, it is now clear that Rowley is using Tobago as his personal plaything and is making it the playhouse of the 1%. I wish to warn the people of Tobago that the 1% ship is coming to Tobago to take over Tobago. It began with the Milsherv scandal, and this is to be followed up by the upcoming THA elections with 3 additional seats already allocated by the EBC, and which manifestly favor the PNM. And now, brothers and sisters, the allocation of Tobago's most pristine and prime resources to the 1% friends of Rowley from Trinidad at $10 per year for 99 years. This is a sellout of the people's rights in Tobago. The 1% ship is coming. May I repeat? The 1% ship is coming to Tobago. The brotherhood of wrongdoers are knocking at the people's door in Tobago. Brothers and sisters, the people of Tobago must save Tobago from this greedy and highly corrupt PNM oligarchy and their 1% corrupt and greedy friends and financiers who are coming in the next ship to take over Tobago. We warn you, the people of Tobago must save Tobago from this 1% crew. The 1% ship is coming to Tobago soon. We warn you, my brothers and sisters, stand up for your rights. Let the people of Tobago decide their future, their own future. Resist the sellout of your pristine and prime resources to the greedy and corrupt 1%. Halt any advance by the brotherhood of wrongdoers who are trying to thief the next THA election. Brothers and sisters, my brothers and sisters, it is time to stop the tomfoolery and the mamagai being unleashed on the minds and hearts and souls of the people of Tobago by a corrupt oligarchy led by this current Prime Minister and his band of financiers and friends. My brothers and sisters, we shall keep you updated on this saga as it unfolds. More information will be coming before you from us shortly. In closing, let me call on the people of Tobago to stand up for your rights. Don't allow your pristine and prime resources to be given away and to be sold to the friends and financiers of the Rowley PNM corrupt oligarchy and kleptocratic regime. Let us stand up, let us defend, let us save our Tobago, save Trinidad and Tobago from this greedy and corrupt gang of thieves and kleptocrats. Long live the people of the United National Congress. Long live the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Long live the honorable political leader and incoming Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Long live the people of Tobago. Long live the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Forward ever, backward never. Forward ever, backward never. Forward ever, backward never. Thank you, brothers and sisters, and good night.
Right now, from the leadership of the United National Congress, the first woman Prime Minister, the first woman Attorney General, the first woman to lead a parliamentary political party, the first woman opposition leader. Let's welcome Kamla Prasad Bisesa, Senior Counsel.
Never stop fighting for me.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you once again for joining with us for another virtual. And I'm very happy to be speaking with you yet again on matters of national importance. I know that our speakers tonight would have raised several issues. I want to thank them, UNC Patriots, UNC soldiers. Well done to my colleagues who have spoken earlier. Now, I know you're very worried about the future, your future, the future of our children, the future of our nation. However, my job and that of the opposition is to really call for transparency and accountability in the governance of our country. And that is what I will continue to do, to hold the government to account. And whilst we are doing this, I am told today the price of bread went up. And there is this skyrocketing of food prices in the country. And yet we have the government wanting to impose property tax. And I'll come back to the property tax in a minute. It is something we have to continue to speak about. So there is something that runs deeper. Something is rotten at the very core, at the head of this government. And that is that they're operating like a mafia. It's a mafiosa gangster government. It's a clique, it's a clan, it's like it's like a lodge. They're operating like that in terms of governing the country, and we call them out. What they have done is impose in Trinidad and Tobago over the past 6 years. They're posing as a government, but instead we have a mafiosa government, a gangster government. That is how I see it, and I do not think that we are wrong. You might think that I'm exaggerating, that I'm being over dramatic, but that is what it is. It is what it is. This is a mafiosa government. Let's start first with Faris. I repeat, Faris must go. No amount of waffling that he did to say it is not about the order, and we have not challenged in the court. There is no challenge about the order itself. The challenge is about the process. Well, he's throwing the president under the bus, because then he says the president did not follow the process. And he will not admit that his very own order is at the core, at the heart, at the root of the debacle that has unfolded in our country with respect to the Police Service Commission. I am now told that Bliss stands alone, so all other members of the Police Service Commission, they have all resigned except Madam Bliss. But she must go because she is at the very center of what unfolded to create a constitutional crisis that we have. And therefore, why is it that she is still sitting there? How is it that the PSC is being represented in the court today by a team of lawyers when there's no PSC? They're not duly constituted. All these questions remain to be answered. So we come back to Faris must go. Faris has in fact utilized his office in the government to gain benefits for himself and his family. You recall that he recused himself up to the last time we got answers from the cabinet. About 37 times he recused himself. And why? Because there was some conflict of interest of some benefit that would go to himself or members of his family. So we have the rentals taking place. We have his wife getting a brief from none other than the office of the Prime Minister. I mean, how much more conflict of interest can you get? And how much more unjust enrichment can you get than what is happening through this mafia government, mafiosa gangster government? We have seen Faris operating, using his office for private gain. We've seen where there has been attempts to control the police. Now, the very reason for service commissions, and that of the Police Service Commission, was to insulate the police force from the interference by politicians. But they have done everything they can to try to control the police force. Why? Once again, mafiosa government, total control to do their bidding. So we see them at the highest level. They seek to control the Commissioner of Police himself and the Police Service Commission that appoints him. Control of the police means that the police will turn a blind eye toward any wrongdoing from the government. And at the same time, they will be utilized to persecute and prosecute those who may be opposed to the government. So that is crucial to PNM's gangsterism and mafia operations. The PNM have to do this because in a truly democratic society, with a properly functioning police service, no one is above the law, including the politicians and all those in high offices. So the PNM has tried to manipulate the police service by interfering in the Police Service Commission. Faris was in charge of trying to introduce laws to allow the cabinet more say, more intervention in the appointment of a commissioner of police. We took him to court, and the court struck out those offending parts of the order. And Faris is so bold-faced and shameless that up to today, he's still saying, look, the court didn't strike down the order. Nothing was wrong with that order. Faris, get alive, be real. The court struck out the parts of the order that we said were offensive to the Constitution and to the rule of law in our country. Those parts were struck out. This is the last order you brought, not the one this year, trying to have political interference through the Minister of National Security in the appointments relating to a commissioner of police. Now we have the second order that you have drafted, and that order is also wrong in law. Now, no amount of talking and waffling, as I say, will get away from the fact that that order is bad in law. In the first place, it is what is known as ad hominem law. That is to say, it is guaranteed and designed for you to pick one man, one person, to act as commissioner of police. One person. Because there is only one person who was on contract. You made an order to allow a contract officer who was on contract to be chosen, and there's only one person in the country. That's when you make law for one person. You do not ever make law, Faris, for one person. That, again, is where you are totally incompetent. Some people may call you a dunce, and indeed you are proving those people to be very right in their analysis of your competence, your behavior in legislation. And as I say, you're talking. I mean, there's one thing, Faris, you're a con man talker. That's all that you do. That's all that we do. You will not stand up in law. And so we'll see where this matter goes. Yes, it's about the process. I agree it's about the process, but the order itself is bad in law. And also, Mr. Nelson said it. Retired Judge Nelson said that. He said it is not vires of the law, meaning that it is ultra vires outside of the law. And then even if it were considered to be within the law, then the process was wrong. So there are two aspects to what is taking place. Your explanation is that the matter before the court is about the process and it's not about the order itself. Okay, again, it's semantics. What you did was bad law, and we are reaping the whirlwind for your wrongdoing. So Faris must go. I repeat, Faris must go. And you say he should have gone a long time ago. Yes, we've been calling for you to go. You have gone since your children were found toting these huge guns out there. What has become of that investigation? That investigation is still pending as far as we know. And that is why, Faris, you may be trying to control who becomes Commissioner of Police. And indeed, the opposition has been discussing the filing of a motion of no confidence as Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi. That should come to the Parliament very soon. Because you see, Rowley said that all of this was an error. An error? This is not just an error, it's a constitutional crisis birthed by several individuals, one of whom is the Attorney General, the legal advisor to the Cabinet, and the others, those in the Police Service Commission, and indeed, we will talk about the Office of the President being also involved in this constitutional crisis. You know, in any other democracy, an Attorney General find himself in the situation that Faris is in now would have resigned long ago, would not have waited. Tonight, I know my colleague Sean Sobers spoke to the issue of the identity of the person who paid a visit to Her Excellency on that fateful day of the 12th of August when the merit list for Acting Commissioner of Police was delivered to the President. But I now have credible information that it was none other than the Prime Minister himself, Keith Christopher Rowley. And therefore, the logbook at President's House will show the visitors on that day. And I call on the President, please clear the air. Was it the Prime Minister? Because that's the information I have. And I'm asking you, please, as rapidly as you responded to other issues, to respond rapidly, because this matter is way beyond constitutional crisis and speaks to a dictatorship in the governance of Trinidad and Tobago. So, Madam President, was it Keith Christopher Rowley? No one is above the law, and that includes the office of the President. As you know, the recent actions by the Police Service Commission, by the office of the President, the Rowley government over the appointment and subsequent, withdrawal of Gary Griffith as acting Commissioner of Police, this whole country has been thrown into confusion and constitutional crises. On top of that, we see escalating crime. During this whole crisis, we see the crime escalating throughout the length and breadth of the country. Now, we raised these matters last week. Last Monday, I called on the Police Service Commission members to resign. Since then, I am told 2 have gone, and the third one, I'm being told, may have resigned today. The last one was Kewal Singh, which leaves Madam Bliss C. Prasad as the lone member of the Police Service Commission, to the best of my knowledge, at this point in time. We come now, the rest of them are gone. Madam Bliss has to go. She must resign. She cannot be allowed to keep in that position, and the President then must call her commission into order. Rapidly do so. Speak, these are the members that you appointed, Madam President, and why is Bliss C. Prasad still sitting after all the trouble that has been caused? And whilst your office may be questioned, I think the greatest questions go to Bliss C. Prasad, because she was the one unilaterally, not with the agreement of the other members, she unilaterally fired Griffith. Remember that? She told Griffith, you can't come back. You stay on leave. Unilaterally, others now have resigned in disgust at that high-handed action by Bliss C. Prasad. Then Bliss C. Prasad also has to answer. Why did she break the law by in the first place, signing off to say, Gary Griffith, you are appointed as acting commissioner, contrary to the law. Contrary to the law. And here the 2 bishops' girls meet, Bliss C. Prasad and Her Excellency the President. Madam C. Prasad sent the order of merit list for the acting commissioner of police to the President, as was required by the law. But then what happened? Office of the President failed and or refused and or neglected and or omitted to send that merit list by way of notification for approval of the Parliament. Why? Please answer why this office failed to do its constitutional duty according to the Constitution. Was this willfully done? And I ask that for a very serious reason, because under Section 35 of our Constitution, a president can be removed from office if the president willfully breaches any provision of the Constitution. So, Madam President, you owe an explanation. You must tell us that this was not willfully done. You must tell us whether you sought legal advice, and if so, whom. You must tell us whether you advised yourself to yourself, herself to herself. Advise yourself not to send this notification to the Parliament. So there are serious questions to answer. You must come clean. You must clear the air on the issue with respect to why you failed and or neglected and or omitted, as required under the Constitution, to send the merit list by way of a notification to the House of Representatives of the Parliament of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. This is a very serious issue, and it will not go away. It will not go away, Madam President. And so please answer as rapidly, as quickly and swiftly as you and WPC Camille responded about the notification for the member of the Police Service Commission. And therefore, reports coming today from WPC Camille and others, they are totally erroneous. WPC Camille is playing smart with foolishness. Smart with foolishness. As leader of the House, she should know better. And maybe she's misadvising the President too. I don't know. I'm asking. They're both bishops' schoolmates. They're probably friends. So be careful, Camille may be setting up Her Excellency and misleading Her Excellency. I repeat, there is no notification before the Parliament as we speak. I have looked at every order paper following upon the elections, and there have been 36 order papers. More than 15 months have elapsed since the alleged June 2020 notification was sent to the Parliament. June 2020. What happened? An election was called. The Parliament was dissolved. The Parliament went dead. So anything before previous Parliament went dead, not just lapsed, died. Parliament dissolved. There's a whole new Parliament, this 12th Parliament. So therefore you cannot come to talk about something you said June 2020 and say that's before the Parliament. You can't speak of that. There have been 36 sittings of the Parliament since then. 36 in all. 36, about 36. About 36 order papers, and not a single order paper has listed on it, and therefore has before the Parliament the notification with respect to the member of the Police Service Commission from way back when in June 2020. As leader of government business, WPC Camille, you have failed and or neglected and omitted to do your duty. And as leader of the House for the government, you should know better. You cannot pick up, so then I could go back 2010 and say, listen, I was Prime Minister then, I sent a notification, who sent, didn't send. It is ludicrous to suggest that a June 2020 notification is before the Parliament. And how do you now come to backtrack yourself? You now say, 15 months later, I mean, really, you know, if it were not so serious, it would really make you laugh. And then sometimes if you don't laugh, you will cry. It is total nonsense. It's totally ludicrous to say, oh, well, okay, last week, the 15th, I told the clerk to put it on the order paper. 15 months later, and intervening and truncating that was a general election of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Therefore, by your donkey logic, it means that we could pick up anything that happened before the elections and say, hey, that is still there. It is not there, madam. So whilst you want to berate me for all kinds of things, as you always do, you know, you all cannot operate on issues. You have to go personal and become very nasty. Go ahead. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. But if you examine, firstly, you must explain, Camille, WPC, why 15 months you have never placed this on the order paper in this new Parliament. Why? And secondly, you must explain why it is still alive. When it was sent to a Parliament that is now, was dissolved for elections, was dead from then, and a new Parliament, the 12th Parliament, came into effect. So on that issue, I say you are totally wrong, WPC Camille, and I say nothing about Her Excellency except to say Camille is misleading you, madam. Be careful of the advice that you take. As I said before, WPC Camille, what is still on the record, or I think it's a live investigation, has to do with about $143,000 deposited in a bank, and the questions as to the source of where those monies came from. I think that is still a live investigation that you may want to pay close attention to. With respect to the alleged notification that was sent to the Parliament, I do not dispute it was sent to the Parliament last year, June 2020. What I dispute is to say that that is before the Parliament. And for 15 months, it has never been laid on an order paper. 36 order papers, 36 sittings of the Parliament, not a single order paper placed it before the House of Representatives, the members of the House of Representatives. And what has now come to my attention, which I didn't know then, is that the person named in that notification, Vincel Edwards, that he was an applicant the last time the post of Commissioner of Police became vacant. That was the time when Mr. Griffith was then appointed. And I now have sight of the merit list with respect to the nominees for Commissioner of Police in the last rounds. Number one on that list was Du Lalchan. Number one. On that very list, coming in at number 16 place, was Mr. Vincel Edwards. So two issues arise. There may well be now a conflict of interest where a person who applied to get that job is now going to be in a position, if placed on the Police Service Commission, will now be in a position to choose the person to become the Commissioner of Police. And secondly, this is a person who placed 16th, now being recommended to choose to recruit, to evaluate the performance of people who would have placed much higher than him in the last list. So I leave that for you. I'm told he scored 53 out of 100% with respect to that KPMG merit list, and serious questions arise about that. Should WPC want to proceed with this, it may well be that we have some concerns. I turn now to the cyber theft at Lake Asheville to the tune of $1.7 million. Taxpayers' dollars again. Where has that money gone? How does Stuart Young account for this theft under his watch? Stuart Young is either the most incompetent Minister of Energy or the biggest dunce, together with Faris. Either way, Stuart Young must go. Stuart Young must also go again for this wastage of taxpayers' money. And a board at Lake Asheville, you say I'm calling about all these boards. The Lake Asheville board must go too. This happened under your watch. Mr. Rowley, all your boards are crumbling and collapsing one after the other. And will they all now come and ask you for indemnities? Because I'm telling you, they could run today, but they cannot hide. And therefore, if they broke their fiduciary duties, acted wrongfully, we will go after them according to law. So let's get to the biggest scandal engulfing our nation now, involving again the Minister of Energy and the TPHL board. Let us remember the TPHL board. The chairman is whom? He is the personal lawyer of the Prime Minister, personal lawyer. The other members on that board are Chairman Michael Kwamina, personal lawyer of the Prime Minister; Reynald Ajoda Singh, Deputy Chairman; Vincent Bartholomew; Everett Bennett; A.V. Chady; Marlon George; Newman George; Joel Hardin; Selwyn Lashley; Eustace Nancis. These are the members. TPHL board. And this is a board that has just agreed to make a settlement with AV Drilling with respect to the alleged fake oil scandal to the tune of millions of dollars. As if that is not bad enough, they proceed to award a 10-year contract. 10-year contract. We do not know what is the value, monetary value of a 10-year contract. How many more millions or billions of taxpayers' dollars will now go to this company? We don't know the details of that contract. But what we do know is that that board was given advice from their own legal advisors, for which you, the taxpayers, through that board paid millions of dollars. Their own lawyers advised them to go to the court to set aside the arbitration award. The board must now explain why it failed and or neglected and or omitted to take the legal advice of their own lawyers to go before the courts to set aside the arbitration award. They must answer that question. And I will tell you this, our lawyers are today considering filing a judicial review application against the board of the TPHL for their failure, their neglect, their omission to take the arbitration matter before the court, for that court to adjudicate upon that. We must remember how the arbitration panel was constituted, I cast no aspersions on that panel. They did their job. But how is it constituted? One of the arbitrators is chosen by AV Drilling, recommended by. And the other is recommended by whom? The board of TPHL. You connect the dots and see what happened. I cast no aspersions on them. But then the taxpayers had a remedy. Should the board have taken the decision following the legal advice of their own high-paid legal advisors and gone to our courts to have the matter adjudicated upon, and therefore acting in the best interests of the taxpayers of Trinidad and Tobago. The TPHL board is a public body which must act in the best interest in the public good. They are not a private company out there on their own, and therefore they are subject to judicial review. Should their decisions be irrational, should their decisions be biased, whether actual or implied bias. And there are a lot of reasons under judicial review to question, as I say, the decision of the TPHL board, and not to take the matter to court. There are 2 court judgments right now, subsistent judgments of our local courts, where AV Drilling had gone to court to get an injunction and so on against that board to prevent them from terminating their contract. And the court said, no, you can't get an injunction. You really don't have a case. That was what happened in effect. So the question now is, why did the TPHL board, I repeat myself, fail and or neglected and or omitted to take the legal advice from their own advisors and to go to the Supreme Court of Trinidad and Tobago to have the court adjudicate on setting aside the arbitration award. That board also must go. And I hope and trust that that board is not also now applying for an indemnity, knowing that they may have acted wrongfully and against the public interest, against their fiduciary duties, against the taxpayers of Trinidad and Tobago. As we know, next Monday, the 4th October, will be Budget Day. I know many are waiting with bated breaths, hoping and praying that the government would come to bring some ease to the most vulnerable, to those most affected by the pandemic in the economy, the economic pandemic caused by Rowley government, the PNM government. So people are looking for the Minister of Finance to come to say, look, these are the things we're going to do to grow the economy. People are looking to the Minister of Finance to come to say how we're going to help those who cannot put a plate of food on their table for their children, for themselves. So that's what we're looking for. I am not so optimistic, because every year the minister has come to the parliament for his budget and he has lied on every occasion, recovery and growth and turnaround. None of that has happened. But we will wait. Minister, I will ask you this. 1, in your budget, make provisions to pay VAT refunds. 2, in your budget on Monday, reduce taxes. Reduce taxes. You cannot tax a nation into prosperity. 2, remove the VAT on food items. These are very simple matters that you can think about. And in addition, do not impose the property tax at this time. People are already suffering. Food prices have skyrocketed. I mentioned the price of bread has gone up today. Other things have gone up. The construction sector, the prices have escalated. In everything, we have escalating prices. And therefore, you have to find a way, Mr. Minister, when you come on Monday, to tell the nation you have taken these things on board. And you cannot, therefore, keep all these taxes, suffer people, whilst at the same time you have Faris making money on rentals, you have Stuart Young, his family getting all these big contracts, enriching themselves. You have all of these things happening. And at the same time, you have a Minister of Finance who recused himself from the cabinet and then came to the parliament to pass a law to grant himself tax exemptions for multi-family dwellings. In 2 ways. 1, exemptions for the construction work. And income tax exemption, he gave himself income tax exemptions. And if he sells any of these properties, can you imagine that? But they want us to pay property tax. And Minister Imbert is on record and saying, well, I will have to pay the tax too. No, Minister. You made sure you passed a piece of law in the parliament to say multi-family dwellings. And that's that big place you put up somewhere, I think, on Picton Street. This huge, massive building. So that your renters coming in, if they buy it, you don't have to pay income tax. You don't have to pay taxes. When you sell it, you're not paying tax. And in addition, you're not paying corporate taxes as well. So you passed that law to benefit yourself. So it is hypocritical, it is and totally unacceptable to come now and say you have to pay tax or everybody have to pay tax. I hope when you come on Monday the 4th that you will give some measure of comfort, some measure of assistance to the businesses that have been totally decimated and to householders who are also decimated and living in abject states of poverty. So we look forward to your budget statement on Monday, Minister, and thereafter we shall speak. In conclusion, I conclude by saying we are plagued by a mafiosa gangster government. That's what this government is. They're here to shake us down. They're here to take over the state. They're here to control the police. And they're here to take taxpayers' money for themselves. we are stopping them. We will keep out speaking, we will go to court when we have to, and we will continue to expose them. The Police Service Commission, I repeat, must go. Faris Alwari must go. Minister Young must go. The board of Lake Ashfield must go. The board of TPHL must go. The board of the NGC must go, in addition to many others. We will continue to fight. We will never abandon you. As I've told you before, you have leaders before me. You will have leaders after me. But you will never ever have a leader who loves you as much as I do. I thank you. May God bless you. And may God continue to bless Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you.